All right, do we have audio now? Can you hear me? I think you should be. Can you hear me now? It's showing that the audio is working. It should be working. Can you hear me now? You should be able to. Yeah, come on. You guys should be able to hear me. It's showing that it's picking up the audio. Is it not working? Now we're working. We've got audio. We're happy. Sweet. All right, we'll get to this. Man, that is weird. I changed it twice. It showed it was working. It looks like we're good. All right, let's start again. For real this time. So, like I say, there's only one Mr. Producer, and I'm not him. But we're here. We're live. This is going to be a quick call. I said that yesterday, and then it ended up being a 22-minute call where I went in and like completely showed you guys how to rewire your brain to fix a lot of the issues that are keeping you from rising to the highest cognitive level. All right, just double checking, 1,000% sound. So if you didn't watch that one yesterday, definitely go watch it. That's going to be put inside of the Learning Center as a major resource moving forward, because a lot of you show up and you need to think at a higher level. You want to think it in a way that allows you to win. And if you don't actually adopt those or fix these problems, you're going to fail, right? So that's a very powerful resource. So I'm trying to keep it short today, but no promises. I'm kind of going to be leaking some content or some of the ideas that I discussed in the bootcamp update. I'm almost done with releasing one of the chunks, so you guys should get that pretty soon. But this is a concept I want you guys to understand more deeply, because as a marketer, as a business owner, you're going to show up inside of a niche. You're going to show up inside of a market, and it behooves you to understand how they work, right? It is in your best interest to understand what they are and how to operate within them. So I want to help you guys understand this today. Real quick, before we dive in, announcements: we have our student review call later today, 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We have plenty of submissions, so I'm going to select 5 at random right after this call, announce them inside of the channel, and we're going to do that, and it's going to be a good call. Those are always a great call. They usually run 2-3 hours, and I dive in really, really deep with the copy that students submit. I answer questions. It's a good time. You should definitely attend if possible. You can catch the replay afterwards inside of the Learning Center underneath courses, general resources, review call recordings. So if you can't attend, that's the place to go to catch it afterwards. I know they're long, but there's a lot of gems in there, and they're definitely worth going through and watching afterwards if you can't make it live. So let's go back to markets. Let's talk about markets. Let's talk about niches. So I'm going to use the term markets and niches interchangeably. When I first created the bootcamp, I used the term niche to help you guys understand this sort of these different little holes throughout the market, these different little places where people gather together, where there's businesses and needs. But I'm going to kind of bounce back off, and I'm going to redefine for you what a niche is. We're going to talk about it in terms of markets now, right? Because I think markets helps you understand this concept a little bit better. So markets are driven by user needs and wants. So people, like actual individual, regular people's desires. So there's a lot of people who have similar desires, and whenever those similar desires sort of come together, that's where you can kind of group these desires together. That's where you have a market. Businesses will show up and help those people with those similar desires. For example, there's a lot of people that want to lose weight, right? That's sort of a general market. And a bunch of people, if you put them all in a giant room, that would be kind of like the market of people who currently have the desire to lose weight. And there are businesses that serve that market, right? Now there's different sub-markets in that. Like you have, young 27-year-old guys who want to lose weight so they can have a six-pack. That's their true desires, to look like that. And then so that's sort of a sub-market, and businesses can serve those sub-markets. Now, there's lots of different markets. I kind of talk about the big three markets: health, wealth, and relationships. There's other things. There's things that kind of fall under entertainment. There's other sort of desires, groups of desires that kind of fall outside of those three giant markets. But at the end of the day, a market is just a bunch of people with the same desire, and businesses serving that market. Now, that's a market. That's what a niche is. That's kind of a new way to look at it. It's a foundational way to think of markets and niches. Now, a lot of you guys, when you get in here, you're a copywriter, right? So you provide the service of helping people grow their business, right? Essentially, right? Now, there's lots of different types of businesses that have different desires to grow their markets, right? There's dentists, and they have a particular desire. There are chiropractors, they have a different desire. There's course creators, they have a certain desire. There's these different little sub niches, there's these sub markets, and there are all these groups of people. They share certain attributes and they share certain desires, right? Now, a lot of you, and it's important to pick a good market, right? Some markets, if you lump them all together, they don't have a lot of desire. They have a lot of pain. They're not people that have a lot of money. You want to try and avoid bad markets. And I give you, but at the end of the day, most markets are good, right? Unless it's a dying industry or you're selling to broke people, the industry is probably fine. The market itself is good, right? A lot of people try and find some magical untapped market, some little niche where there's no competition, so they can show up and make lots of money and be the only one there. And I hate to break it to you guys, there is no magic untapped niche. There really isn't, right? There really isn't some place, there isn't some human desire that hasn't existed for thousands of years that will just spring into existence. No matter what industry you step into, it's going to be based off of fundamentally a human desire that has existed for thousands and thousands of years, right? And as such, where you've had thousands of years of people trying to find ways to solve problems like that, you're realistically not going to find a niche where there is no competition, where there's no copywriters trying to help them, right? Or there's no other businesses. I mean, you can extrapolate this beyond just copywriting. You can extrapolate this all the way to any business whatsoever. You're never going to really find a niche, and you're never going to find a strong desire that someone hasn't noticed before you. That's the game, right? You won't be able to find that. It doesn't exist. So if you're trying to, a lot of people were like, oh, well, maybe I'm just reaching out the wrong niche. I need to find a better niche and reach out to them. That's almost never the case. It's almost never the case that you're talking to people that don't have desires, right? You're almost always, if you're talking to business owners, they have desires and they have money, right? So the niche isn't the problem. It's how you're showing up to the niche. Because if you think about it, every niche has desires, right? They have fears, they have dreams, and they're all pretty much the same, right? Everyone inside of that niche, everyone inside of that market. Now, if you're talking to them and you're not getting results, that doesn't mean that the niche itself is bad. It just means you haven't tailored your message to match those desires, right? That's the step. That's step number one. You have to tailor your message to match their actual desires. You need to understand their desires and tailor what you talk about to match that. That's step number one. So if you're reaching out to a niche and you're not getting any responses, it's not the niche's fault. It's your fault for not taking time to understand your market, understanding the people inside your market, where their desires are, where their fears are, where their current beliefs are, all that stuff. So you can then tailor your message to match it. That's on you. It's almost never the niche. It's almost always the outreach, right? It's almost always the method. I say almost always. I have yet to run across a case from students who have been reaching out to a niche that does not hold the potential for profit. I've yet to have that example happen, right? No one in here has been reaching out to print and newspapers recently. So it's not the market, it's how you're approaching the market, Now, this is kind of the paradigm shift, right? There's a lot of people that attack that market, and a lot of people can understand the desires. It's up to you. So step number 2, beyond understanding just their desires and tailoring your message to match that and giving them things that are valuable to help them solve that. Step number 2 is you have to find a way to stand out and be different from everyone else. Usually that means transcending them, stepping above them, right? There's a lot of people all competing in any and every niche. Like any niche, any product I've ever launched, any niche I've ever been in, there's always been competition. There's a bunch of people competing. And most people, the good news is for you, this is the great news. Most people are lazy and are poor competitors. That's the good news. Most people are lazy. They try not to think very much. They try not to work very hard. They're optimizing for doing the least amount of work possible, right? And the least amount of thought possible. So they copy and paste stuff. They don't really think. They just do the insanity stuff I talked about in a previous call. and just do the same thing over and over again. And they all kind of fight over doing the same thing in the same exact way, right? I have never taught you guys to do that. I've always taught you guys to OODA loop and rise above the competition in new and unique ways, knowing full well that some of you won't be able to make that jump. Some of you just for some reason are not going to decide to be brave enough to make the jump to invest a lot of time and energy into thinking and improving and being creative and different, right? Once you understand their niche, once you understand their desires, and once you can tailor your message to that, if you're still facing competition, it's up to you at that point to elevate what you're doing, provide more value in a new and unique way. So find a way to stack and let everyone else compete down here on the lower level, and you find a way to show up in a new and exciting way that is different than everyone else. If you try and do the exact same thing like everybody else is doing, and invest the lowest level of possible thought and effort into you reaching out and working with your market, you are going to fail. You're never going to get the outsized returns. There's always a few people. I say a few. There's no actual limit to this, right? It's just that statistically, human beings, you put a group of 100 people together, 10 are going to be the top performers, and everyone else is going to be average, essentially, right? Or below average, right? That's just kind of how it works because of math, right? But there's no hard limit. It's not like there's a gate where they're like, sorry, we can only let 10 copywriters be successful today. The door's open, right? Anybody can go be successful. It's just that statistically, it looks like about 10% of people decide to actually step up to it. So you can decide whether you want to be one of those 10% or not. I say 10%. It's really flexible, and it takes people some time. A lot of people will like do average stuff for a long time, and then finally they hit a brick wall and they decide to step up and become super. Like so, over the time, a lot of people make it into that top. They kind of make it through that gate, but the door's open. Just do it, right? It's up to you to show up at pick a market, right? Pick a market, pick a niche, and find out what their actual desires are. Find out what they're actually looking for. Adapt your message to match that, and then it's up to you to show up in front of them in a new, unique, and interesting way that catches their attention where they are and shows up in an interesting way so that they pay attention to you, and you can continue through the process. You can book the sales call, you can partner with them, you can do the discovery project, all that stuff. But there's sort of those two levels to it. If you're down here at the bottom and you're doing the same stupid stuff over and over again and you're not getting any results, let's just say that's you. You've been sending emails and no one's been responding to your emails. It's not the niche's fault. They have desires. They are willing to pay money to solve this problem. That is not the issue. The issue is you're not showing up in a way that is connected with their actual desires or is valuable or new or interesting to them. You've got to get the holy trifecta. You got to get all three. It's absolutely key. So in summary, there's no magic niche. It doesn't exist. There's no market that's untapped. There is going to be competition in all realms, but the good thing is most people are lazy, and it is pretty easy for you to step up and become better than the competition. No matter what business you start, no matter what sport you play, no matter what you do in your entire life, there will always be competition. If you run from competition, you're going to back yourself into a corner, and you're just going to have to sit there and not compete on the couch watching Netflix and getting fat. That's all you can do. That's the only option. It's either rise to the occasion and decide to be a top-level competitor by investing your time and energy into thinking and OODA looping and becoming creative and developing these skills like I teach you guys. It's either that or go be fat on the couch and watch Netflix. Like there's no middle ground. There's no place where you can be average and get extraordinary. That's the thing, right? Most people want extraordinary results while staying average. They want to stay average and get everything they ever wanted. You can't be average and have an extraordinary life. If you want an extraordinary and amazing life, you must become extraordinary and amazing. If you want to land big clients and be successful as a copywriter, you've got to be the kind of copywriter that is worth that. So understand your market. Understand that it's usually not the market. Understand the market's desires and pains. Tailor your message and your stuff to those desires and pains. And then find ways to increase your value, increase your unique abilities so that you can show up at a higher level in a different way, in a unique angle, and land and overcome the low-level competition you face. If you're listening to this and you're like, man, I am the low-level competition. That is me. That's what I'm doing right now. You have some options, right? You can get out of there. It's not, like I said, it's not like there's a gate and copywriting police only let 10 people be successful. It's not like that. The door is wide open. The principles are there. The levers to pull are right there. And I teach you inside of the program. I teach a lot of them in the Temporary Bootcamp Updates channel. That's where I have a lot of the videos where I show you guys how to update your thinking about outreach. I give you the daily checklist to help you improve your marketing IQ. Those tasks on it are extremely important. If you do what I teach you, if you apply this and you start to use the principles, you start to OODA loop, you start to think, and you start to develop your own marketing IQ, on top of what you're learning in the boot camp, on top of what I attend the live calls like I do today, you will be able to elevate above the competition. And the higher you go up the mountain, the less competition there is. Down to the bottom, where everyone's doing low effort, there's a lot of competition down there. The higher you rise as a copywriter, the higher you develop your skills, the less competition there is. You get to the top and you look around, there's nobody. I'm telling you guys, the way to defeat competition isn't to just like find some magic game where there's no competition. It's to simply accept the fact that there will be competition on any painful, serious desire. Like if there's a human desire where they're in great pain and they're willing to pay lots of money, there will be competition for that desire, right? Accept that fact, rise above it in a new and unique way, and you're going to win. That's the lesson for today. Again, I said this was short. I did a huge long call. There were like 10 minutes at the beginning where we're trying to figure out audio, but that's the lesson. So use that, apply that. It's extremely valuable for you. Keep that in your back pocket moving forward. Use that perspective. If you find yourself down at the bottom, you know what you need to do now. You need to climb the top. You need to improve your marketing IQ. You need to think outside of the box and be creative, and you'll be successful. Guys, it's been a good call. I'll talk with you guys later today on the student copy review call. Let's go get it.